Hi, welcome to the Chris Goodwin Podcast. And today I'm in Irvine, and I'm at Irvine Police Department, which is located in Orange County, California. And the reason we're here today is we want to catch up with the Irvine Police Department, see what they're doing in regards to recruitment. But I also want to share with you that this is one of the safest cities in the United States. In fact, for 18 years straight, Irvine was listed per the FBI stats with 250,000 or more in population as being the safest city in the United States. And today, my guest is Sergeant Scott Grange. And he's going to take some time with us and answer some questions regarding, what this department's looking for in regards to new recruits and how they are taking a proactive, position on bringing in quality officers for this department to keep up the reputation that they have, which is fantastic. So, beginning with that, Scott, thank you for joining us, and I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us and show us what Irvine Police Department might be looking for.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I want to start off with what makes Irvine Police Department, a great choice for recruits over, say, other departments, because there's 32 cities in Orange County and 19 unincorporated areas. And there's a lot of choices for people out there. So maybe you could just share why Irvine PD is a great choice for people looking for police work.
Absolutely. So I believe what makes Irvine so great is we truly embody the value of family within this organization. So not only do we treat each other and the organization treats us so well, but what we found is once we're treated so well on the inside and once we're everybody embraces each other, it's one giant family, we're able to go out and provide that same level of spirit of community out when we're dealing with citizens, residents, or visitors, which I think is what really kind of separates us. Also, that ability to interact with our community daily. We have so many different programs as it relates to community building, community outreach. It really kind of separates us from other departments. And simultaneously, we still have the ability to go out and do proactive policing, which I think kind of is one of those things where it's important in crime fighting. It's what helps us keep that safest city ranking, and it really, truly kind of makes the difference. And I believe that blend is what separates us from other agencies.
Fantastic. And for people that are looking for, law enforcement as a future employment, I know a lot of younger individuals who are starting to do ride-alongs, and they've called different departments, and a lot of departments have been open to that. Is that something that Irvine considers for people that call in and say, hey, I'm looking for a job in law enforcement, not sure if Irvine PD fits for me. Could I do a ride-along because maybe your department is what I'm looking for?
So we'll do ride-alongs with laterals after they complete the interview process. And by laterals, I mean if anyone that's coming from another California police agency and wants to apply with us. For recruits who just want to go get into law enforcement, we will do ride-alongs with them after they're in the background process.
Oh, okay. So they're definitely gonna have to wait a little bit. Just not anybody off the street can call and say, hey, I just want to take a ride along. So
yeah, as far as the applicants are concerned, we'll only do for recruits once they're in the background process.
Interesting. Okay. And what year did you get hired by Irvine Police Department?
So my story is a little bit different than most recruits that come in. So I started as an explorer with the department, and that was in 1998. So after my time in high school, I was able to apply as a public safety assistant, which is a non-sworn position. So I was able to do that as a part-time basis while I was going to college. And then after college is when I wanted to make the move to become a police officer. And so that was in 2005 when I went to the academy, and I was sworn in 2006, and I've been here ever since.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask you too, was why you chose Irvine Police Department. It sounds like it's because of the Explorer program.
It truly was. And I talked about community outreach earlier, and that's kind of what makes us so great. The whole reason I was introduced into the Explorer program is because of an officer that responded to my home for a call for service. And it was his thoughtfulness and his professionalism when handling the call for service with us and his ability then to just connect with me throughout that call, asking me, what my high school plans were, because I wasn't in high school at the time, where I wanted to go to college, what I wanted to study. what my future career goals were. And at the time, law enforcement wasn't anywhere on my spectrum of jobs I wanted to do, but he introduced me to the Explorer program. And I thought it would be a great opportunity for community service, way to help my community. And that is what got me into Irvine PD. And I think that's great. I mean, because you think about the community outreach, it was a vehicle burglary call that turned into a career opportunity for me.
That's really cool. And speaking of the Explorer program, so that's currently still going on?
Yes.
And what ages, is it like 16 through 20, or what is it for the qualifications to be in that program?
Yeah, so you have to be a high school student, so 14 to 18 years old.
Oh, okay. And is it a pretty big program still, like it might have been when you were in it?
I think it's actually grown since the time I was in it. The city has grown. We have many more high schools than we did back then, so it's definitely gotten larger.
Yeah, and this city has grown amazing, and they're still building. It's unbelievable. Like Orchard Hills just keeps going, and you got the great park, and it's unbelievable the amount of new construction that's gone in. And then, of course, with the commercial, right? And when you bring in more people, more businesses, that requires more police because you got more people in the city. So and that's why this department probably continues to grow. Am I right?
Yeah. Oh, we're continuing to grow and we're continuing to hire. It's what makes my job in recruitment so fun. Is it's not. I know that there's always going to be more opportunities and more spots for people, and it's nice because we don't have to worry about letting a good applicant go just because we don't have a spot available for them.
And it sounds like you might have went to school in Irvine, am I right?
I went to high school in here, in Irvine.
Oh, okay. I went to Irvine High School, and that's one of the reasons why I brought it up.
Oh, you did?
I went to Irvine High School.
I went to Irvine High too.
Yes, and I went to Sierra Vista for middle school, so you're probably quite familiar with both those schools.
Yep. Yeah, I went to Venado, so.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We got the high school, both alumni. Go Vaqueros.
Oh, yes. And I had talked to your public information officer, and he had told me, too, that he had gone to Irvine High School. So it seems like Irvine keeps a lot of their people within their city and employed. So it's pretty cool. So, well, I know a lot of people listening in, they a lot of times like to hear stories from people's careers, and maybe you could share, because obviously 2005, you've been on the department for quite some time, and we're going on 20 years now. So during that 20-year period, is there any story that you can think of that you might want to share that listeners might want to hear about?
Yeah, certainly. So I think when I look back on my career, the one call that I really kind of like is my first time I was in a pursuit. So our K-9 partner found a car that she thought was driving under the influence and failed to yield, and then began running red lights. So I was able to jump in secondary in the pursuit and begin calling it as it drove through our city, and eventually took us from like the center of our city all the way onto the 5 freeway. And from there, got on the 5 freeway and going north, and we were asking for CHP to assist us. And I learned that when CHP gets there, you just pull back, you let them do their thing. So we began trailing the pursuit. Car ended up getting off in Garden Grove, where it stopped in front of a home for a little bit, and then Garden Grove PD began coming up, and then the pursuit took off again, and then it eventually kind of made its way into Anaheim. And when it finally stopped, kind of looking back and seeing all the different agencies participating together, it was CHP, Irvine, Anaheim, Garden Grove, and everyone on that felony car stop working cooperatively as a team, I think was just awesome. And for me, the greatest experience was, not only was it my first pursuit, something we kind of always think about, in our heads, how's that pursuit going to be? How am I going to react? And being able to call the pursuit and just kind of rely on my training. It was one of those full circle moments where you're like, all right, like thinking about this so long and growing up kind of in law enforcement and finally there, that was kind of just a memorable experience for me, something that I'm proud of. And I think it really highlights truly the mentality of law enforcement in Orange County, how we are all one team. We may be from different agencies, but we're also, working together to solve a problem.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because I spent 25 years with CHP, obviously in Orange County, and a little bit in LA County. But what I found was in LA County, you were kind of like, each agency kind of did their own thing. Where in Orange County, you're right, I never had a problem with any of the agencies, and a lot of my time was spent down in South Orange County, so I was with the Sheriff's Department primarily.
Oh, yeah.
And we got along with them great. In fact, many times I had a pursuit once, and came off the 241 and went into Rancho Santa Margarita, and there was no units around. They're all down on the 5. I was all by myself. I'm like, okay, this is going to be mine. Well, there happened to be 2 sheriff's deputies sitting in a parking lot, and they see me go by, code 3, with lights and sirens, chasing a car. They just pulled right out of the parking lot. I looked at my rearview mirror, and I see 2 sheriff's cars following me. I'm like, this is fantastic. And sure enough, this guy drove home, opened up his garage, pulled his car into the garage, and tried to bring the garage down. And it was funny. So I'm getting out of my patrol car, and this deputy runs right by me. He gets to the garage door first and actually rips the garage door off the hinges. And now we took this guy down, well, not down, but we took him at gunpoint right in his garage. Neighbors were looking out, and he was arrested. It turned out he was DUI, and he just didn't want to go to jail that day, but he ended up going to Orange County Jail. So anyways, good pursuit stories.
Yeah.
I love it.
They're fun. You know, they're fun, and when you get in them, it's one of those, you know, you're excited, you're in it, and then afterwards, it's a sense of relief. You're like, all right, we got through it. I look at it a little bit differently now as a supervisor, obviously, but you know, it's good when you can get a suspect into custody.
Oh, absolutely.
Done safely.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go into next on the goals of Irvine Police Department in regards to recruitment. So you said, yeah, the city's obviously expanding, which means you need more police officers. Do you foresee a number over the next few years? Has your department identified how many you're going to hire, and kind of give people out there an idea how many people that you're taking on?
So we are continuously hiring. We have natural attrition that occurs, so there's always openings. We anticipate with retirements that we can look anywhere in the next couple of years between 20 to 25, give or take. You know, it's hard to kind of accurately predict individual officers' timelines on when they're going to retire, but we're looking at approximately 20 to 25 over the next 2 years, and we'll hire more because of the natural attrition that's built in within that as well. So we're going to continuously be hiring, and not only for police recruit, it's great opportunities, you know, and great chance of getting hired is if you can, you know, meet our expectations as a recruit applicant. Yeah,
and 25, that's actually quite a bit for a city police department. Obviously, with like CHP, they hire hundreds and hundreds at a time, but you're talking about the state of California, so it's totally different. But that's a pretty good number. So people looking for law enforcement, I think Irvine might be a great selection for them possibly. So maybe you can tell us what's the recruitment process so that, you know, applicants can have an idea what it's like.
Yeah, so first they can apply through government jobs. That's where we do a lot of that's where the application process begins. After the application process, we start with a written test. The test we do either on site at the City Hall, or we have an option where they could do the written test through online at home with a proctoring service. After the written test is an oral interview. That's typically done with a sergeant and a field training officer or a senior officer. And then there's a pre-poly interview where we give you a pamphlet that has, you know, roughly 300 to 400 questions on, you know, your deepest, darkest secrets. Have you ever done it? And kind of explain that. There's a physical assessment test, and where it's run here at the police department, which involves a 6-foot wall, getting over a 6-foot chain link fence, dummy drag, and then 2 minutes max push-ups, 2 minutes max sit-ups, and followed by a 1.5 mile run. The next phase would be polygraph, where we send them to a third-party company to conduct a polygraph exam, and then backgrounds. So our background process right now is averaging about 4 to 5 weeks, depending on life experience and how many places people have lived. And after that, we review the background, ensure that it's someone that has the moral character that we want, the work history that we want, and then we'll send it to the chief for a chief's interview. It's great. Our chief wants to meet with every single applicant before they're hired or before we give them a conditional job offer. So he gets his eyes on and he gets to evaluate the person and make sure that it's up to his level of caliber employee that he wants. And he does a really good job of explaining to our applicants, the expectation, but also what he can expect from the management team and the agency. Then after that, do a conditional job offer and a psychological evaluation and a medical evaluation.
And how long, on average, how long does that process take?
We've got it streamlined. We're pretty much able to do it in about, from time of application to time of hire, between 3 and 4 months. So we're able to get through it fairly quickly.
3 to 4 months, that's actually pretty impressive because well, each year can change for any agency, right? Because of funding issues or just various things that come up. I remember it took me about 9.5 months to get hired with CHP, but then CHP has done the same thing. They've streamlined it. They brought in different background investigators. And so I think they've gotten theirs down to something close to that. But yeah, every agency is a little bit different. Because what I've found from talking to people over the years is that they were interested in 2 agencies. They got offers by 2, but one of them actually couldn't make the full commitment just yet. And that person was ready to roll. And they were like, you know what, I'm taking the first offer I'm getting. And that's the unfortunate thing. There's a lot of good departments, but if they're too slow, they lose a lot of good people too. So.
Yeah, and what some agencies have started doing is they've been given a conditional job offer on the front end before they start, polygraph or backgrounds, and just list that as conditions that they have to complete it. And sometimes it can make applicants feel as though, like, all right, hey, I have a conditional job offer. It's, I'm in. And that's some of the challenging part to sometimes explain to applicants, like, hey, you still have to pass the background and the polygraph. Still just keep that in the back of your mind when you accept that conditional job offer.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I wanted to ask you is, what challenges is Irvine facing in recruiting? Because there's a lot of things that come into play when you're trying to hire people.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how it was for you when you got hired, but there was always a line out the door, and it was hard to get into a written test, and the number of your competition was so high. Challenges now is we have not seen the same number of applicants applying pretty much ever since 2020 and kind of the events that occurred at that time. There was a lot going on in the world, and that kind of has hindered a lot of the application or the number of applicants we're getting. So I think it's slowly starting to turn back around, and we're starting to see an increase again. But the damage that was done has truly been felt, and it's not just our agency; it's everywhere, and we've seen it and we've heard it from multiple different agencies. So luckily for us, it's not hasn't been critical. We haven't dropped to low levels of staffing or anything else, but we've definitely seen that be the bigger challenge.
Yeah, I do remember that, both in the 90s and 2000s, whether it was police or fire, you saw lines of people just waiting to get an application. And you're right, it definitely changed, but I'm glad to hear that it's coming back though, because that's important. Maybe you can tell us what qualities and qualifications you're looking for though with recruits, because not everybody's made to be a police officer.
No, that's absolutely right. We are looking, the best way I would categorize is we're looking for just good people that want to go out, that have good moral compass, that have a history of good decision making, and really want to go out and serve the city of Irvine and serve the community, realizing that the success of community policing doesn't solely rest on the police department. It's based upon relationships with the community stakeholders, and ensuring that we are working cooperatively together. So a good history of teamwork, leadership, self-initiation, and the ability to have great discretion as well. So there's a lot of kind of components to it. I like to, I'll have a lot of applicants ask me, this one specific issue or this one thing, what's your guys' opinion on this? Truly, we like to look at the totality of the person. It's kind of like reading a book. There might be a bad chapter in that book, but when you look at the book of a whole, if it's a good book, it's a good book. Mm-hmm. Same thing with applicants. If it's a good applicant, it's a good applicant. They may have one small issue, but the person as a whole is good. They may be a good fit for us.
Right, and we're human beings, and we all make mistakes, especially when we're younger, right? People have to put on their application that they did something when they were 16. Unfortunately, they have to list it, because if you find on backgrounds, that can get them disqualified because you're not being completely honest. So I've gotten a lot of comments from the channel asking, and this is usually recruits are somewhere between probably like 18 and 25 asking questions like, oh, I got DQ'd for this, and what do you recommend? And I've tried to help out, and I've actually taken some phone calls from some people too, trying to give them some direction. I'm like, don't give up, because what you're describing, it wasn't a crime. It was more of an employment issue. Like one person, he called in sick too many times, and they didn't like that, and they flagged that. There was a few other things where he actually, I think was showing up late to work. So I said, 1, you need to become the best employee out there. 2, show up on time. 3, don't call in sick, all right? And 4, make sure you keep that job for quite some time while you're going through the testing process. You don't want to be jumping all over the place. So he really thanked me because he understood, oh yeah, that makes sense. And somebody like that, I think, would get hired. It's just that, he's been tardy way too many times to work, and he needs to show that he's responsible now.
Yeah, and that may be something as, just a slight maturity issue, just kind of needs to work on. But here's the other piece though too, is just because you don't meet one department standards doesn't mean that you're blackballed from all agencies. We need good people in this career, and just because you may not meet the criteria for Irvine PD doesn't mean you won't meet the criteria for another agency that's still looking for good people.
Yeah, that's good point. So I wanted to ask you about your academy. Where is it, and how long is it?
So we're currently using predominantly the Orange County Sheriff's Academy, and it is a 6-month high-stress academy. It's located in Tustin. They offer a phenomenal program that we feel we get a great result out of our recruits. And they all kind of call it the 6 months they have loved to experience but never want to live again. And it is overall, we have a great relationship with their academy staff. We get a great result out of our recruits, so we're happy utilizing them as partners.
And do any of your officers, are they allowed to be instructors there, or is it just the Sheriff's Department doing the instruction?
Right now, we do not have any staff over there. It's something that always is kind of there's communication with, but currently we don't have anyone staff there.
Oh, okay. And moving on, once they graduate from the academy and they become an officer, maybe you can explain, the training process, how many field training officers that they go through and how long that is.
Yeah, so after they graduate from the academy, we bring them on here and we keep them in an in-house training for 1 month. So during that 1 month, they are not out in the field yet, but we go over all of our different units. We cover the way we, some of our tactics that we use, some of our tools that are applicable to them and that they can utilize in the field that is not covered by the academy, such as, our patrol rifle. So we'll put them through a post-certified rifle school, and it's just additional levels of training that they get with us. So our arrest and control techniques, our searching techniques of searching buildings and tactics, and it really is just meant to, the academy is great, it meets that bar, but we're gonna start then elevating that training on the expectations before we send them to the field training officer program. That program is roughly 4 to 6 months, kind of depending on the different phases, as well as kind of some of the scheduling too, because it's all based on the number of days in training, and we have a 4-10 schedule and a 3-12 schedule. So if you're on a 3-12 schedule, it may just be a little bit longer just because you're not working as many days.
Excellent. And then, going back, because we were talking about applicants, numbers, and that sort of thing. How many applicants do you get a year for this department, on average?
Gosh, it'd be 500 to 600. It would be my my best guess. I don't know if I've looked at that number for a while, but right around 500 to 600.
Okay.
I'm thinking we're getting roughly 50 applications per month.
And I remember you said that you're hiring over a 2-year period about 25. So maybe of 500 a year that apply, you're taking about 12, 13, somewhere right around there, right?
Yeah.
So, and would you say people, because this is what I found when I was applying, was that you weren't really competing against other people. My background investigator even told me this. They said, you're competing against yourself. And as soon as I heard that, I looked at this whole application process different. I'm like, you know what? They're looking for somebody that's high quality, not somebody that just kind of, well, we need this many people, so we'll take on that extra person or whatever. And so I was like, I actually have a chance, because I knew that I was a good applicant, but I was like, with CHP, they take on thousands of applicants because it's statewide. And I'm like, that was overwhelming, because you think, there's no way I'm going to get hired. And then you start going through each process, you keep passing, and you're like, this might really happen. Yeah. So everybody has a chance. I think they just need to remember or remind themselves is that you're competing against yourself, really. Even though that sounds like a big number, 500 versus 12.
Right, and if you're a good person and you have a good work history and a history of, you're just all around a good person. I think it's absolutely said, like what you said. It's you're competing against yourself. There is a spot for you. You just need to make yourself adequate through the process and pass every step. And it can be rigorous. It can be mentally exhausting and stressful, but the process is there. And just how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Same thing with this process. How do you get through the process? One step at a time.
Oh yeah. Well, we're almost to the end here. Maybe you can just give some final advice to anybody looking for, applying with Irvine PD. And I know we talked about a lot of different things, and I think people have a good idea of what you're looking for maybe now, but is there maybe one or two things that, you may want to share?
Yeah, the thing I would share the most is be open, transparent, and own your mistakes that you've made in life. Don't try and make excuses for them. Accountability is one of our core values, and I truly feel like that is very applicable through the hiring process. We all make mistakes. We don't expect perfect people. No one is perfect. Mm-hmm. But if you can show growth from your mistakes and share what you've learned from those, I think that'll truly help people through the process versus, some people just trying to, distance themselves from it. But it's a great career. We need great people, and I think this is an excellent department.
Fantastic. Well, I do have one final question for you. When I was rolling up to the PD, I saw a vehicle pulling out of your back lot, and it was a large, dark Tesla. And if people haven't seen that, because I know you publicized it in your media with your Instagram, with your PIO, but maybe you can tell us what the Tesla's for, and what do you guys, what do you utilize it mostly for?
Yeah, so our Tesla Cybertruck is one of our current DARE vehicles. Going back even to when I was in elementary school, so in, late 80s, early 90s, we've had, very kind of exotic style vehicles that for our DARE program. We've done that since then, and we continue to do it now. And it really is a great tool for community outreach, and especially with our youth. So we have police officers in elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, but this vehicle, the amount of excitement that the children see in elementary schools when they see it pulling up and it's, all the lights going off, it really opens up that dialogue. And what we found is that when you can start that dialogue with youth and then continue it as they go through the schooling process, still having, officers in our middle schools and high schools, it really develops relationships with the police department, and that's part of our community policing philosophy.
Yeah, that community policing is really important, and I'm really glad to see that the city council and the chief came together and said, yeah, let's get this vehicle, because that is one cool vehicle. I mean, it's fantastic. Have you driven it yet?
I have not, no.
Maybe one of these days we'll let you.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things where, hey, I'm good in a police car. Right? I don't know if I want to touch that one.
Now, I've seen a lot of your Instagram posts or your department's posts regarding exactly what you were talking about, them being at the schools and the lights on the Tesla and the kids, their big smiles and stuff. And I knew it was mainly probably a DARE program car, and that's really cool because you're right, it draws people in, and especially with the community events, even on Saturdays at parks where you got multiple agencies there displaying different vehicles. And Irvine's got their Tesla, and then you got Orange County Fire over here with just an engine, which is cool too.
Well, that's cool.
But the kids light up. So yeah. Anyways, well, that's what I wanted to go over today. So I really appreciate your time. I think a lot of the viewers are going to really take a great interest in Irvine PD after hearing all the information you shared today. They may end up going with another agency, and that's fine. But at least they can take a look at your website and see what you have. And I'm assuming that, there's plenty of information on your website too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. go to Irvine PD on our website. You can just click join our team, and then all the information that you would want to know as an applicant is out there, or is on there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again, and hope we can do another one of these in future years.
All right, sounds good. Looking forward to it.
All right, have a great day. Thank you.